3 days after the regime collapsed, Puerto Cabello Naval Base, Venezuela, Venezuelan military commanders announced they no longer support acting President Rodriguez. Transitional government forming under U.S. supervision. But not everyone accepts the new order. At 2:47 a.m., alarm sounds at the naval base. Multiple vessels are departing without authorization. Not one ship, not two, 7 warships leaving simultaneously. This is mass desertion, naval mutiny, fleet escape. Warpulse has the tactical breakdown of what happens next. The fleeing vessels represent Venezuela's remaining naval power. Frigate Almirante Brión, Lupo class, Italian-built, 2,500 tons, armed with automatic anti-ship missiles, 127mm gun, torpedoes, Venezuela's most capable warship. Patrol vessel Jequana, Constitucion class, German-built, fast attack craft Carabobo and Caribe, missile boats armed with Chinese C-802 missiles, plus 3 support vessels, supply ship, tugboat, transport, total 7 ships, 680 crew members, heading to sea without orders. This is unprecedented. Modern navies don't just flee. But Venezuela is not normal navy anymore. After Maduro's capture and regime collapse, everything is chaos. Military hasn't been paid in 4 months. Food supplies exhausted. Equipment breaking down. Officers divided. Some support transition. Others oppose. Lower ranks just want to survive. The 7 ships represent the faction that refuses U.S. control. Hardline Maduro loyalists. They won't accept new government, so they're running. But to where? That's the critical question. U.S. Southern Command detects the departure immediately. Satellites, radar, intelligence networks. Nothing escapes surveillance. Admiral in command briefs staff. 7 Venezuelan warships departed Puerto Cabello without authorization, heading northeast at 18 knots. We need to determine intent and destination. 3 possibilities emerge quickly. Option 1, Cuba, closest friendly port, 900 nautical miles. Castro regime sympathizes with Maduro, might grant asylum. Option 2, Russia, across Atlantic, 4,500 nautical miles. Long journey. Requires refueling, but Moscow might accept them. Option 3, scuttle. Destroy ships rather than surrender to U.S. Desperate but possible. The Admiral orders immediate response. Deploy assets. Track those vessels. Prepare to intercept. USS Carney destroyer changes course. Currently 140 miles away. Speed 30 knots. ETA 4 hours 40 minutes. Coast Guard cutter James also responds, 85 miles away. P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft launches from Puerto Rico. Flight time, 45 minutes. Advanced radar. Electronic surveillance. The hunt begins. Comment if you think they'll make it to Cuba. At 4:15 a.m., P-8 Poseidon achieves visual contact. 7 Venezuelan ships in formation. Frigate leading. Fast attack craft flanking. Support vessels following. They're maintaining radio silence. Transponders off, trying to avoid detection. But satellites already spotted them. The P-8 pilot radios U.S. Southern Command. Contact confirmed. 7 vessels heading 045 degrees. Speed 18 knots. Formation suggests organized departure, not panic. Recommend intercept before they reach international waters. But there's complication. The ships are still technically in Venezuelan territorial waters, 12 nautical miles from coast. Legal jurisdiction unclear. Can U.S. intercept Venezuelan military ships in Venezuelan waters? Transitional government gives authorization. Those vessels departed without orders. They're rogue units. We request U.S. assistance in stopping them. That's enough legal cover. At 5:30 a.m., USS Carney closes to 25 miles. The destroyer is faster, better armed, superior technology. But rules of engagement are restrictive. Do not fire unless fired upon. Attempt communication first. Warn them to stop. Use minimum force necessary. The destroyer captain radios the Venezuelan frigate. Venezuelan naval vessels, this is USS Carney. Stop your engines immediately. You are ordered to return to port by Venezuelan transitional government. No response. The ships continue northeast. Captain tries again. Almirante Brión, you are in violation of orders. Stop now or face consequences. Finally, the Venezuelan frigate responds. Captain's voice, defiant, angry. We do not recognize the illegitimate government. We remain loyal to President Maduro. We will not surrender to American imperialism. Leave us alone or we will defend ourselves. This is mutiny confirmed. Open defiance. The destroyer captain radios for guidance. Venezuelan vessels refuse to stop, threatening defensive action. Request authorization to use force. Authorization comes from Washington within 12 minutes. You are authorized to disable vessels if they attempt to flee. Target engines and propulsion. Minimize casualties. Do not sink unless absolutely necessary. War Pulse confirms. This could become the first U.S.-Venezuela naval battle. At 6:45 a.m., the situation escalates dramatically. One of the Venezuelan fast attack craft breaks formation. Carabobo, armed with Chinese C-802 anti-ship missiles. She accelerates to 35 knots, racing ahead, trying to escape while others distract the destroyer. USS Carney's captain makes decision. Fire warning shot. Across her bow. The destroyer's 5-inch gun rotates. Aims. Boom! Massive shell screams across the water. Explodes 200 meters ahead of the fast attack craft. Huge water column. Unmistakable message. The Carabobo doesn't slow down. Instead, her weapon systems activate. Radar locks onto the destroyer. Missile launchers rotate toward target. This is going hot. Destroyer's combat systems detect the lock immediately. Missile threat. Venezuelan vessel has locked weapons on us. Captain has seconds to decide. Wait and risk being hit? Or fire first? He chooses survival. Fire SM-2. Take out that vessel's missile system. The destroyer launches Standard Missile 2. Surface-to-air missile, but effective against ships too. Speed. Mach 3.5. Flight time. 8 seconds. The Venezuelan crew sees the launch. Panic. They fire their C-802 in desperation. Chinese-made anti-ship missile. Subsonic. Sea-skimming. But they fire without proper targeting solution. Rushed. Panicked. Inaccurate. The C-802 flies wide. Misses destroyer by 400 meters. Explodes harmlessly in the sea. The SM-2 doesn't miss. Direct hit on Carabobo's superstructure. Massive explosion. Fire. Smoke. The fast attack craft's missile launchers destroyed. Radar shattered. Bridge damaged. But the hull remains intact. Ship still afloat. Casualties. 6 killed. 14 wounded. The Carabobo stops dead in the water. Listing 15 degrees. Her crew abandons weapon stations. Focus on damage control. The other Venezuelan ships witness this. Their fastest vessel, disabled in 10 seconds, against U.S. destroyers' overwhelming firepower. The message is clear. Resistance is futile. Who surrenders first? A. All ships immediately. B. Some resist more. C. They scatter and run? The frigate Almirante Brión slows down. Her captain reassesses situation. They have automat missiles. 127mm gun, torpedoes. But USS Carney has Aegis combat system, SM-2 missiles, Phalanx CIWS, plus submarine support likely, aircraft overhead. This is unwinnable fight. The frigate captain makes pragmatic choice. He radios his fellow commanders on other ships. This is Almirante Brión actual. We cannot win this fight. Further resistance means death for our crews. I am ordering stand down. 2 ships immediately comply. Patrol vessel Yequana. Fast attack craft Caribe. They stop engines. Lower weapons readiness. But missile boat Carabobo's sister ship disagrees. Her captain radios, "We swore oath to Maduro. We do not surrender to Yankees. Cuba is 600 miles away. We can make it." She accelerates, full speed, 38 knots, heading northeast, trying to run. USS Carney pursues easily. Destroyer at 32 to 2 knots, plus helicopter. MH-60R Seahawk launches from flight deck, armed with Hellfire missiles, door guns. The helicopter overtakes the fleeing vessel in 8 minutes, flies directly overhead, 300 feet. Pilot radios warning. Venezuelan vessel, stop engines or we will disable you. The missile boat captain ignores warning, continues at maximum speed. Helicopter fires warning burst from door gun. 50 caliber rounds splash into water ahead. Still no response. Pilot receives authorization. Take out their engines, non-lethal if possible. The Seahawk maneuvers to stern approach. Hellfire missile locks onto engine compartment. Launch. The missile streaks downward, precision guided. Hits engine room, below waterline. Explosion. Not huge, shaped charge, targeted. The ship's diesel engines destroyed, but hull integrity maintained. Ship stays afloat. The vessel coasts to stop, dead in water. Crew emerges on deck, hands up, surrendering. No fatalities this time, just disabled ship. Professional, surgical, minimal force. Now 5 of 7 vessels secured. 2 disabled, 3 surrendered voluntarily. But 2 support ships still trying to escape. The supply ship and tugboat continue northeast, slower, unarmed, just running scared. Coast Guard cutter James intercepts them. Boarding teams deployed. No resistance. Crews detained, vessels secured. By 9:30 a.m., all 7 Venezuelan ships under control. None sunk. Casualties minimal. Mission accomplished. But this raises massive questions. What happens to these ships? The crews? The officers? War Pulse tracks the aftermath carefully. The Venezuelan vessels are towed to Puerto Rico, U.S. territory. Secure facilities, proper detention, 680 crew members transferred to custody. Not prisoners of war, not arrested, just detained. Status unclear, legal limbo. Venezuelan transitional government requests extradition. These are mutineers. They defied lawful orders. Return them for trial in Venezuela. But U.S. hesitates. Many crew members are conscripts, low-ranking sailors. They followed officers' orders, not their choice. Sending them back means potential execution. Maduro loyalists still have influence. Revenge likely, so U.S. keeps them temporarily. While lawyers debate status, the ships themselves present different problem. Frigate Almirante Brión, Venezuela's best warship, worth $180 million, capable, well-maintained. Should U.S. return her to Venezuela? New government is friendly, U.S. aligned, but also unstable. Might collapse. Ship could fall to hostiles. 2 fast attack craft, 1 disabled, 1 functional, armed with Chinese missiles, modern, dangerous. If returned, could be used against U.S. interests later. 3 support vessels, less problematic. Tugboat, supply ship, transport. Minimal military value. Safe to return, probably. Decision made at presidential level. We will return support vessels to Venezuela. Combat ships remain in U.S. custody pending stability assessment. Translation: U.S. keeps the warships indefinitely. Venezuela protests but accepts. They need U.S. support. Can't afford confrontation. So they lose their fleet. Justify keeping ships. Comment J for justified, U for unjustified. The crew interrogations reveal fascinating information. Officers planned escape for 2 weeks. Secret meetings, encrypted communications. They coordinated with Cuban intelligence. Plan was, reach Cuba, get asylum, take ships. Cuba would gain modern warships. Venezuela would have government in exile. Maduro loyalists could continue resistance from Havana, but plan failed when ships engaged too early. If they'd avoided fight, just run at full speed, they might have reached Cuban waters. Then U.S. couldn't intercept without confronting Cuba. Political complications would have been enormous. The officers miscalculated badly. Thought U.S. wouldn't risk shooting. Thought warning shots would be all. They were wrong. Junior crew members tell different story. Most didn't know plan, just told, "We're going on training exercise." Then realized they were fleeing. Many wanted to turn back. Officers refused. Some crew attempted sabotage. disabled communications. Others planned mutiny against the mutineers. The fleet was divided internally. Officers versus enlisted. Loyalists versus pragmatists. This is what happens when military collapses. Chain of command breaks. Discipline fails. Everyone chooses sides. The incident has broader implications. Venezuela's navy is effectively destroyed. 7 ships fled, all captured or disabled. Remaining vessels in port are unreliable. Crews might mutiny. Officers might defect. New government can't trust its own military, so they request U.S. advisors. We need help rebuilding loyal forces. U.S. sends 200 military trainers. Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. They'll rebuild Venezuelan Navy from scratch. U.S.-aligned, U.S.-trained, U.S.-equipped, eventually. This is military transformation through crisis. Venezuela becomes client state militarily, dependent on U.S. for security. Cuba watches nervously. Their allies' navy destroyed in hours. Cuban warships are older, smaller, more vulnerable. If U.S. can do this to Venezuela, they can do it to Cuba. Havana orders heightened naval readiness, but knows they can't fight U.S. Navy, so they protest, diplomatically, loudly, but take no action. Russia also concerned. They sold weapons to Venezuela, trained personnel. Now those assets are U.S. property. Moscow can't intervene from across Atlantic, so they issue statements, demand return of ships, but accomplish nothing. China sold the C-802 missiles to Venezuela. Now U.S. has them. We'll study them. Learn weaknesses. Beijing protests through diplomatic channels. Return Chinese origin equipment immediately. U.S. ignores the demand. Advanced missile technology is intelligence goldmine. Reverse engineering. Countermeasure development. Worth far more than diplomatic friction. The fleeing Venezuelan fleet proves several realities. Collapsed regimes cannot maintain military loyalty. When government falls, military fractures. Officers choose sides. Enlisted follow or rebel. Modern warships are vulnerable without support. Lone vessels cannot fight networked fleet. U.S. systems overwhelmed Venezuelan capabilities. Asylum seeking has limits. Running to Cuba seemed viable, but U.S. intercepted before arrival. Cuban protection meaningless outside their waters. Minimal force doctrine works. U.S. disabled ships without sinking them. Casualties minimized. Ships captured intact. Better than destruction. International law is flexible. Venezuelan waters. Venezuelan ships. Venezuelan crew. But U.S. intervened anyway. Legal justification found. Transitional government authorized. Rules bend when power permits. The 7 Venezuelan ships sit in Puerto Rico under heavy guard, docked at Roosevelt Roads Naval Station, former major U.S. Navy base, reactivated for this crisis. Heavy security. Marines patrol perimeter. Coast Guard monitors sea approaches. Nobody in, nobody out without authorization. The vessels undergo thorough inspection immediately. Intelligence teams swarm over every ship. Document every system. Photograph everything. Download computer data. Copy communication logs. The Frigate Almirante Brión reveals most secrets. Combat management system. Italian technology. Sophisticated, but outdated. 1980s vintage. Vulnerable. U.S. analysts identify weaknesses immediately. Electronic warfare countermeasures. Radar jamming techniques. Information invaluable for future operations. The Chinese C-802 missiles receive special attention. Export version. Less capable than Chinese military variant. But still, modern anti-ship weapon. Engineers disassemble one completely. Guidance system. Warhead design. Propulsion. Every component analyzed. Documented. Photographed. Data sent to Naval Surface Warfare Center. They'll develop improved countermeasures. Maybe design jamming systems? Decoys? Hard kill defenses? One captured missile provides years of intelligence value. China will be furious when they learn details, but they can't do anything about it. The crew detention situation grows complicated quickly. 680 people, mix of officers and enlisted, ages 19 to 54. Various backgrounds, different motivations. Some are hardline Maduro supporters, ideologically committed. They volunteered for escape, willing to fight. Others are conscripts, forced service, just following orders. They never wanted to flee, had no choice. U.S. interrogators interview everyone individually, separate officers from enlisted, identify leaders, determine who planned escape, who executed it, who opposed but was overruled. The picture emerges gradually but clearly. 23 senior officers planned the escape. They coordinated secretly for 2 weeks, encrypted communications, coded messages. They identified sympathetic crew members and intimidated others into compliance. At 2:00 a.m., they made their move, announced sudden training exercise. Crews rushed to ships, no time to question. By time sailors realized they were fleeing, too late to stop. Some crew members tried to resist. Communications officer on Almirante Brión. He attempted to radio warning to base command. Officers knocked him unconscious, tied him up. He has testimony, medical evidence, criminal charges possible. Engine room crew on patrol vessel Yequana. They sabotaged fuel pumps, slowed the ship, hoping delay would allow interception. Officers discovered sabotage, beat crew members. 2 sailors hospitalized. Broken ribs, concussion. This is mutiny within mutiny. Officers forcing enlisted to commit mutiny. Enlisted resisting but overpowered. The moral picture is complex. Based on interrogations, detainees categorized into 4 groups. Group Alpha, 23 officers, true believers. Maduro loyalists. They planned everything, forced everyone else. These face serious charges, likely decades in prison. Group Bravo, 47 senior enlisted, willing participants. They supported escape, helped enforce discipline, moderate charges, maybe 5 to 10 years. Group Charlie, 380 junior enlisted, coerced compliance. They opposed escape but followed orders under threat. Minimal charges, possibly released. Group Delta, 230 Sira detinan certified and conscripts and support staff. Cooks, medics, engineers, maintenance, not combat roles. Just there because assigned. No charges, likely refugees now. This categorization determines fates. U.S. works with Venezuelan transitional government. Agree to extradite Group Alpha for trial. These are mutineers, rebels, criminals. Venezuela wants them. U.S. agrees. They'll face Venezuelan military courts. Charges: mutiny, theft of government property, desertion. Sentences likely 25 years to life. Some may face execution if Maduro loyalists regain influence. Group Bravo remains in U.S. custody temporarily. Detailed investigation needed. Evidence gathering. Some might be extradited later. Others might get plea deals. Cooperation exchanges for leniency. Group Charlie faces difficult choice. Return to Venezuela? They'll be investigated. Suspected. Even if cleared legally, they're marked. Participated in fleet escape. Loyalty questioned forever. Careers destroyed. Possibly physical danger. Or request asylum in United States? Claim they were forced. Feared for lives. U.S. immigration considers applications. Many likely approved. Settled in Florida. Joined Venezuelan exile community. Group Delta are refugees automatically. They didn't choose military service. Conscripted. Forced onto ships. Forced to flee. U.S. grants temporary protected status. Work permits. Housing assistance. Language training. Eventually green cards. Citizenship possible. This creates political complications. 230 Venezuelan military personnel living in Florida. They have knowledge, training, experience. Some still loyal to Maduro despite everything. Others bitter, angry, seeking revenge. All potential recruits for future operations. CIA monitors them closely. Some become intelligence assets, providing information. Others join exile groups, plotting Maduro's return. A few just want quiet life, forget everything. The ship's final disposition takes months to decide. Frigate Almirante Brión undergoes full evaluation. Hull sound, engines functional, weapons operational. Worth $180 million, significant asset. Venezuelan government wants her back. That's our ship, our property. Return her. U.S. delays decision for 6 months. We need to ensure stability first. Can't return warship to potentially unstable government. Meanwhile, U.S. Navy uses her for training. Mock enemy combatant, target practice, electronic warfare testing, getting maximum intelligence value. Eventually they'll return her, probably, but stripped of advanced systems first. Weapons removed, radar downgraded, sensors disabled. Venezuela gets hull back. U.S. keeps the technology. The two missile boats face different fate. Carabobo was damaged. Repairs cost $12 million. Not worth it for Venezuela. They can't afford repairs. U.S. offers to keep her. Payment for damages. Venezuela reluctantly agrees. Carabobo becomes U.S. Coast Guard training hulk. Her sister ship returned to Venezuela after 1 year. But weapons removed, engines limited. Essentially demilitarized. Patrol boat only. Support vessels returned quickly. 6 months? Tugboat, supply ship, transport. Minimal military value. Safe to return, but crews replaced entirely. Don't trust originals. The incident costs Venezuela catastrophically. 7 ships, $340 million in assets. 3 returned damaged or demilitarized. 2 kept by United States permanently. 2 eventually returned but degraded. Fleet capability reduced 60% permanently. Plus 680 trained personnel lost. Some imprisoned, some exiled, some died. Replacing crew takes 5 to 10 years. Training, experience, institutional knowledge, all gone in one night. Venezuela's Navy becomes coastal defense only. No power projection, no blue water capability. Dependent on U.S. for any serious operations. This is exactly what Washington wanted. Client state, militarily neutered, controllable. The fleet escape accelerated process, made it easier, more legitimate. We had to intervene. They were fleeing. We had to keep ships, unstable situation. We had to supervise, prevent future incidents. Every step justified by crisis. But outcome is total American control. The broader regional message is unmistakable. Cuba watches and understands. Their navy is older, smaller, more vulnerable. If Venezuela's fleet destroyed so easily, Cuba's stands no chance. Havana quietly reduces naval ambitions, shifts resources to coastal defense, shore batteries, accepts they cannot contest U.S. at sea. Russia gets message too. They cannot protect allies in Western Hemisphere. Distance too great, logistics impossible, U.S. dominance too complete. Moscow focuses on regions they can actually defend. Eastern Europe, Central Asia, Pacific maybe, but Caribbean and Latin America? Lost. China learns as well. They invested billions in Venezuela. Infrastructure, oil development, political support, all gone when U.S. decided to act. Beijing cannot project power globally yet. Navy limited to Pacific and Indian Oceans. Atlantic remains U.S. domain. They'll remember this, build capabilities. But for now, accept limitations. This is how empires work. Client-state military collapses. Empire steps in, rebuilds on its terms, returns what it chooses, keeps what it wants, wraps it in language of assistance, calls it stabilization, democracy building. But outcome is control. Could more Venezuelan military flee? Will Cuba accept defectors? Is Venezuelan Navy finished? War Pulse will monitor developments, because fleet escape attempt reveals truth. Venezuela is not sovereign anymore. It's U.S. protectorate now. Military, economic, political, all under American supervision. The ships that fled learned this hard way. You can run from collapsed regime, but you can't run from U.S. Navy. Not in Caribbean, not in Atlantic, nowhere in Western Hemisphere. American naval power dominates completely. Subscribe to War Pulse, where military operations become breaking news. Real conflicts, real consequences, real coverage. The Venezuelan Navy is gone. 7 ships fled, 7 ships captured. The fleet that was, the fleet that failed. War Pulse, where real conflicts meet real coverage.